Hello and welcome to the Wait I Know You podcast, Season 1, Episode 8. My name is Nick Rounds and I will be your host. My next guest is a legendary video game designer and poker player. He's worked on the Magic the Gathering card game at Wizards of the Coast, on the World of Warcraft MMORPG at Blizzard, on League of Legends at Riot Games, and at Zynga Poker at Zynga. These are only the highlights of his career, and he has many, many more credits and titles to his name. These days, you can catch him streaming on Twitch full-time as Baba Share Show. Shawn Carnes, a.k.a. Baba Ganoush. Wait, I know you. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking me to do this. How are you, dude?
I'm good. Hanging in there.
Good.
Getting close to Turkey Day. So
yeah, I feel you.
Getting close to traffic and all that other fun stuff.
You going anywhere special for the holidays specifically?
No, I have sad bachelor cat Thanksgiving, where I make Thanksgiving dinner for myself or somebody invites me over. But with COVID times, that's a little bit complicated because it's usually
it's probably going to be the same way with us. Probably the dogs are good. The dogs are going to love it. They're gonna love it. They're going to get all the scraps that they can hope for. So yeah,
and that's really what it's all about, is spoiling the dogs.
Pretty much.
Well, sir, my podcast is called Wait I Know You, and it's about people that have done amazing things and they might not necessarily know the person. You're one of my mentors, one of my game design mentors, and you've worked on many games that people know about, and I wanted to interview you to talk about all your experience of working on those games and kind of peeling back the curtain, as it were.
All right.
But first, I want to talk about what you're doing now, which is you're a Twitch streamer. And,
I guess the gentleman of leisure, is that what it is? A bon vivant, is that what? I'm retired. For many years. I didn't live specifically by a philosophy, which is like financial independence, retire early. I didn't subscribe to anything like that, but honestly, I've been kind of living toward that. I knew I wanted to retire relatively early. And when I found myself not only with the opportunity to do so finally, but also with being sufficiently sick of the video game business, needing like the biggest break of breaks, I was like, yeah, let's go for it. That was 2017, the end of 2017. And yeah, I guess from many perspectives, I try to stream full time on Twitch. My full time, which is no more than 4 days a week. Sometimes I do a little more, sometimes I do a little less. But yeah, that's what we've been doing. Loving it.
Can you explain the type of content that you're streaming over there? Typically?
Mostly it's games that interest me, right? Like we started, and maybe this will actually start to steer some of the conversation, right? Or at least the interview, whatever. I started doing World of Warcraft, like the whole shtick, right? I mean, even the logo of my little stream that I got going here, right, is Baba Share Show. It's kind of related to the anchor is I was playing World of Warcraft and talking about my time working on World of Warcraft, doing quests, the reputation system. And then later on, for the 3 years, I was there for 5 years. For the last 3 years, as Blizzard's the creative development manager for all of Blizzard. And it started there, but I have other passions too, right? I throw any good MMORPG in front of me, Nick, and I'm good to go, right? And so it's just kind of behooves me to stream that stuff. And besides, all my friends throughout the years have said, I'm streaming games anyway, whether there's a camera in front of me or not. So why don't I just go ahead and put a camera in front of me? And here we are. That's it. Yeah, 2 years, 2 years and going. 2+ years, actually. So yeah. That's what I'm doing. No poker, though. I haven't been playing live poker since 2019. Things are really starting to go pretty well. And then we started streaming, so we slowed down a little bit. But the idea was to integrate poker and streaming together on Twitch, to do that semi-regularly. But COVID hit, and I really fell out of the loop on poker, playing live poker. It's not that I've fallen out of the loop on poker. I'm very glued to what's going on in casinos in regards to what with the status of the rooms, like with some rooms having plexiglass up, but that's part of what I'm doing out here. But really, I think with a lot of people, it's just kind of leaning into the retirement part by sheltering into place.
For sure.
Yeah.
And to set some context here is that you live in Las Vegas, and
Yeah.
you're you used to be an avid in-person poker player, and you're also a game designer. But poker has always been kind of a side passion.
Yeah, I call myself an aficionado, right? Like like I have in the imaginary ledger that I keep in my head of my lifetime wins and losses, I feel like I'm considerably up over the course of my life. Like if you like I've got reasonable, for me anyway, right? For reasonable cashes in some poker tournaments on Hendon Mob, like $4,000 or $5,000 cashes in various tournaments. Sometimes they're, sometimes like in 2019, I cashed in the 2 bigger events, bracelet events, actually, at the World Series of Poker. That was a good time. That was an incredible time, actually. But yeah, it's I always call myself an aficionado, right? Because in my mind, I was starting to become a professional player of sorts, but that's my definition of professional, right? I'm not sitting at a table grinding 60, 70 hours a week, at least back in the day before COVID, right? I was doing a fair bit online, but I certainly was spending the majority of my time when I'm not engaged with my family or the dogs or anything like that. A lot of it was poker, but yeah.
So World Series of Poker like really took off in popularity around like 2002 Thanksgiving, when they started filming the Farhad Moneymaker WSB.
Yeah, the Moneymaker effect, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like it really exploded, and it went from nobody knowing what Texas Hold'em was to everybody suddenly being like, "Hey,
yeah,
you play Hold'em," and suddenly everybody has a case of poker chips in their trunk ready to go.
Yeah, pretty
take
much.
Your money.
Me too. I'm that nerd. I'm that poker nerd. Yeah.
Can you explain how I mean, I think we've all grew up playing cards of some sort, but can you explain how poker came into your life and how it's yours?
Yeah. So I learned how to play poker when I was 8 years old. My grandma, my mom's mom, taught me how to play every time they would go. So games have always been a part of my life, just to back up a little bit, right? Like, it's not like this was the first game I decided to play. I taught myself how to play chess when I was 5. I would play against my older idiot half brothers who were kind of dicks about the game.
You were the Queen's Gambit before the Queen's Gambit was
something to that effect. Only my world championships were when we would play chess, the loser would have to put away the board, and I would always put away the board, and they would just, I'm just a little kid. I'm just their little idiot brother, right? And so they'd be, loser puts away the board, and it pissed me the fuck off. So I got better, right? And then when they started putting away the board, we stopped playing chess, and then I started doing chess outward, right? So games have always been a big part of my life. Poker specifically. Grandma taught me how to play when I was 8. This is a 5-card draw. Because they were always playing. We would go up to visit my grandmother in northern rural Indiana for, all the time. And at nights, in the evenings, for the people who were staying over or staying late visiting grandma, they would play penny ante 5-card draw. And so I obviously, I'm all about games already. I want to learn how to play. Grandma teaches me how to play. And from that point on, right, cards and card gaming, not even necessarily, I mean, more than just poker, right? Like gin rummy and spades, crazy eights, even kind of like just regular card games like Racco and like non-standard regular type card games like Uno or Skip-Bo or Racco or games like that, right?
Right. Everything that's gonna make you hot with the cruise ship crowd.
Exactly. Pretty much. I'm already set. I'm already a cruise director at basically like age 15, right? I could just set sail and like be set with all these card games. But poker was a big one, right?
Shuffle up and deal, ladies. Step aside. I'm ready to play.
That's right.
Who's got the
Ladies.
nickels? Let's do this.
Ladies, we're going to have to ask you, listen, you're going to have to keep your heads above the level of the playing field at all times, because that would be against the tournament rules, ladies. That's how you get them, Nick. That's how you
no fake hands, no fake legs. Let's get in there. Have a clean fight. And we've already gone off the rails. It's like we know each other or something.
I know. Yeah. Funny that. But yeah, starting at age 8, right? And my relationship with poker has always been, it's always the bridesmaid and never the bride. It's always the first passion that kind of gets set to the side when I have to be an adult and be real, right? Like, oh shit, I'm working on a particular project at work. I'm going to put poker on pause, right? So I've always had this on again, off again engagement with poker. But that said, it's always been a part of my life, right? And I think it always will be too. It will be the last game I think I play, right? It'll be the last game that I think I hold on to before.
So you're saying if you're on your deathbed, we need to bring some chips. And
I got some back here. Just bring these with. Listen, you don't need to bring chips. I'll have them with me at the hospital.
Well, that got dark real quick. Jeez.
I didn't mean it quite like that, but yeah, I think poker's always been a big part of my life, and I think it always will be too. I don't know if I'm ever going to be at that cutting edge level that you always kind of in your back of your mind dream to or aspire to, or at least I do. But I think that's okay, right? Like not everyone can be a professional NBA player, right? Not everyone can be. There can only be one LeBron James, right? There can only be one Stephen Curry. I'm cool carving out like a continental Europe career or something like that down the road. I'm already qualified, Nick, as a senior because I'm 51 actually. So I can play in seniors tournaments for the World Series of Poker, which I will. You better believe it.
As you should. I think it comes with a free AARP card.
Thank you. Yeah, see, I won't get questioned because I got the camouflage going already here on the side, so I'm good to
go. You're officially a silver fox. Well, speaking of WSOP, I mean, not everybody has actually, made that jump and actually gone there and bought in and played hands. How many times have you done that? And like, what is the vibe sitting down? Is it like super intimidating? Like explain. Like, how different is it playing there versus just like a regular? I mean,
It's the gravity of the situation, right? You feel, at least I feel it, right? But 2019 wasn't my first go. I went 2013, No. Seems like I was going every other odd year because I was working, right? Like, I think 2015 was my first year. And then I went in 2017 and then I went in 2019. I was, like apparently every odd year, but 2019, I was going to keep going afterwards. I never played in the main event. I've never sat down with 10,000. I feel like I
throw your money away.
just the definition of dead money, right? But I'm comfortable sitting down on $1,000 tournament now, right? Or at least I was in 2019 when I was doing that, right? I did the double stack $600, and then I did the mini main, which was $1,000 entry in 2019. The first tournament I did, it was like a $400 tournament, right? And the thrill for poker for me is I'm a very emotional person. Like I guess emotional is the right way to say it. I'm very passionate. Poker is a super cool thrill because I get to lie and I get to be a cheater of sorts, right? Like cheating with the information. I feel like it's not like I'm sitting there acting, but so many people have come up to me and said, I can't believe you play poker because you're always so passionate. It feels like sometimes even you sometimes wear your emotions on your sleeve. It's kind of the sweet passion of poker, right? Is that you get to hide. I mean, it's legal for you to kind of fake emotions or just when people look at me, they make assumptions out of the gate, right? And I play in a much different manner than probably what my persona might lead on to be, right? And that's really useful. But all of that kind of gets thrown out the window the first time you sit down, or at least I sat down at my first World Series of Poker event, because you're playing in the big leagues, right? But it wasn't my first high entry fee tournament. And what I mean by a high entry fee tournament, it's 500, anywhere between $500 to $1,000 entry fee, right? That's the top range that I still feel comfortable with. The first time I entered that was in at a Venetian tournament, and I just everything horrible that a poker player can do in a tournament, I did. Donked at a turn, like I'm way at, like, oh my God, like this, and it just so happened, true story, Mike Moore, my boss at the time, my boss, like the Uber boss, Mike Moorheim, was sitting at my poker table, and he got to see me donk it up. The good news is that he's also seen me play pretty well in like the Blizzard tournaments, that the weekly thing that we used to have at Blizzard. So that was good. But there's that pressure, right? Like, to answer your question, there's the pressure that you feel about, I'm playing in the World Series of Poker, right? The sooner that I would forget about that, and the sooner I would just kind of focus on my game, the better. And the more I play and with a lot of people around, right, in that marathon style setting, right? Because the advantage to me anyway is that I treat it like a marathon, not a sprint, because you're getting like, 60-minute rounds, 80, I mean, fuck, even, for some of them, they were like 90-minute rounds. And that's a lot of time in a round to do a lot of interesting poker, right? You just don't have to play run and gun all the time, right? You can step out. I mean, based on the vibe that you get going, at least the way I play, right? You get going at the table. It helped me that what I was not only doing, at least early on, the big tournaments, like the big bracelet tournaments, right? The 500-600, they would always have like $100 or $200 multi-table tournament going. And early on, I was playing those before I would ramp up to the big tournament, right? Just to sort of get a feel of it. But that pressure is real, right? That, like, and you're playing for a break, you're playing to be a World Series of Poker champion. At least to me, right? If that A game and O face, dude, right? Like you're like treating it not super, like, it's fun, don't get me wrong, but you're also treating it with the seriousness and respect that I think it deserves, right? In order to play good poker. So it helps elevate your game too a bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially with the legacy, I think there's a lot of mythology at this point around poker, which is weird because I think the way that people talk about poker players sometimes is like talking about a gunslinger in a Western. Like,
I imagine it that way at times too. Yeah, absolutely.
People like Texas Dolly, or like when Phil Hellmuth sits down at your table, or Daniel Negreanu sits down at your table, suddenly it's like the man in black has sat down at your table, and now, you're intimidated for your life. So
I've had that happen to me actually, but I'm a poker nerd, right? So it's not as big of a poker star, but her name is Lexi Gavin, right? And so it's always like, it's always noticeable, unfortunately nowadays, but it's always noticeable when a lady sits down at a poker tournament, because they're so, like the ratio is still way more dudes than there are the ladies there, right? But I know poker pros, right? Lexi Gavin sits down. A few people take notice, myself included. Other people have no idea, right? But it was so interesting. The people that I had kind of already pegged as, these people are probably as good, if not better than I am, played immediately completely different the moment she sat down. And like the dude to my right just raised every hand the moment she sat down. Every fucking hand. Just no matter where he wasn't, no matter where the action was, he's bumping it, right? So that immediately changes my game, right? If the dude to my right is always raising, that creates an interesting scenario for myself. But I felt that pressure with like someone sitting down, right? And I was the one to break the ice, right? It was like, I think your name is Lexi, and I hopefully you don't think I'm creepy. I just know poker. I just know poker a bit. And she was like, well, thank you very much. Yes, my name is Lexi Gavin. And, and that kind of breaks the ice. And so there's that little, it's poker is so beautiful, Nick. I don't have to fucking tell you this. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I, am I working clean, or is this blue? Can I work blue?
It's very blue. You've been blue. You've been blue for the past 20 minutes. You didn't notice until just now.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I think if Frick was needed, then I would have
farts, boogers. Okay, all right, fuck it. All right, so I mean, but poker is so beautiful because there are these multi-layer things going on. I'm genuinely kind of goobing, but trying to be respectful of the poker pro who I recognize, and shit's going on, and of course the whole poker dynamics going on. I'm still trying to make it in this fucking tournament, right? I'm still trying to survive this. It's you can't get that I can't get that same feeling when I play online, right? So yeah, I miss it, Nick. I miss it.
For context, I think every time that I've been at a poker table playing in money games, especially No Limit, the people I've always been the most scared of are the rounders that happen to be women at the table, because they're there to take your money. Full stop.
Serious. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I before the pandemic, I was doing the Mirage tournament, they had I think it was called the Grand at the Mirage. It was their big weekly. I was hitting that. I was actually playing the Mirage like 2 or 3 times a week on tournaments and shit like that at the heyday, right? And there was like 1 or 2, like the grinder types, the rounder ladies, right? That would come by, and there would be these fucking jackasses that would show up, and inevitably, right, they would start playing. Imagine how some sexist idiot would be playing poker against a lady, right? And they would just play right into these ladies every time. It was almost as if the ladies didn't have to put in that much effort to scoop up their catches of the day, right? With so many yahoos rolling through. Another reason why playing poker in Vegas is so good. The dynamic of people is just crazy, and it's constantly changing, right? So anyway.
Yeah. Sometimes you know when you're the mark, and sometimes you know who the table the marks are.
Oh God, it's that old saying too. If you can't find the donk at the table, you're the donk, right? I 100% the final moments of my World Series of poker for the main. It was like I think I've seen these 2 people on television before. Everybody else has just been crushing left and right. I'm clearly the JV at the table, right? And that I mean, there's something semi-liberating about that. I was also short stacked too, so my decision trees were pretty simple at that point. Anyway, so
it's a beautiful ship, gentlemen. I think you should go down in it.
I just hands behind the head poker. It's like, yeah, let's see how this rides out. Whee!
Time to hit the old dusty trail. What is the sweatiest poker hand that you ever experienced? Or at least one of the most notable ones in terms of like the twists and turns of the hand.
It's probably the hand that I felt like, I mean, first off, it's the hand I felt like I played the best ever against the most professional person ever. And that was at the tournament that I actually did the best in. I got second at one of the 5-star diamond events back in the day. One of the WPT. It was like a weird side event called Position Poker. And I don't know if that name rings a bell, but it was the Position Poker tournament that they had out there that I was out there to check out for Zynga when they had flown me out. And it was first off, you feel like you're a rock star anytime you end up with quads. So the caveat, right, is anyone can play great poker when they eventually have quads, right? But having said that, though, the way I caught quads on the turn, and the gentleman that I was in the hand against had been playing very aggressively, and it was one of those things where I certainly felt like I was pulling off a good trap. And the details of the hand, I could sit here and I can try to remember, and if you want to, I can. But the sweaty hand is you basically the trap worked. I got most of his chips, and at the end of it, he sort of gave me props, if you will, like as much as a professional can give another person props after, taking them for well over half their chips, right? At the end of it. But it was one of those things. It was just one of those hands where I think David Skalansky, I'm going to badly paraphrase this, says it. You typically win the best, you win the most amounts of money playing in ways usually different than you do. And I had stepped out a little different, but I had kept it under control more than anything else. And I had felt like at that particular moment that when I felt like I was able to pull that off from like start, like I had a plan, I had a story I was telling him in that hand. And because I was able to pull that off, that made me feel like, yeah, you know what? I really could do this shit. And it was just one of those things where that hand gave me enough chips to eventually get second in the tournament. We basically cashed out at the end of it because, I mean, I don't think we necessarily each wanted to. We chopped, and I was set. I got plenty of cash for that effort, at least for what I was doing there. But that particular hand, right, where basically you get, I get it's pocket fours, which is why pocket fours are my favorite hand. You get dealt pocket fours, you get your set on you get your set on the flop, and then you turn quads, and you're still playing as though he's cautious because you're still playing as though I'm cautious because he's going to step into this. He's going to try to push me around, and I was able to respond to that. Right. Again, very easy when you get quads on the turn, but that's the hand where it's sweaty. That's the hand where I have another hand though, and I can actually tell you a little bit more of the details about this particular hand. It was the best I ever had performed in a World Series of Poker tournament, which was the 2019, the $600 deep stack, where you ever played poker, Nick, where you just feel like, yep, this is it. Everything's coming up Millhouse. Nothing can go wrong.
Yes. Yeah. It's only really happened to me once. There was one hand where I had a straight flush on the flop. It was spades on the flop, and I had 9-2 spades. And then so I had a flush on the flop, and then by the river I had made a straight flush, and the ace and the king spades were fighting over and re-raising each other while I was just sitting back and just waiting. And when they finally stopped raising, I raised one more time. And then I took all their money.
That's awesome. That $600 event, right? Like you feel so great, right? And I had been playing, and to my even it had been super volatile, right? So my emotion, like trying to control my emotions, is over time. One of my hands even got reported on by Poker News back in 2019, right? I'll have to send it to you at some point, but I clipped it. I'm like, oh, Poker News mentioned me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but eventually I got booted out of the tournament that I was going to win in like 140th place. I had kings, right? I get kings pre-flop. I win, right? I mean, Nick, are you ever going to fold kings pre-flop?
No. Yeah. No, I'm gonna take it on the chin, even if I
had these guys scared. Right. And so when I got re-raised, I'm like, well, there are a couple dudes there. I really was lording over them. I was like third or fourth in chips, and the dude that knocked me out was at the time the chip leader. He had aces, right? I mean, it's just the 80-20, right? I had kings, he had aces, and then, no help. And even though, I mean, every poker player has that story, right? Has that story, no pun intended, in spades, right? They have that story. It's just, kind of that classic story that happened to me really put poker in perspective, right? It actually even though I still get bummed thinking about it, I don't get too bummed because that's kind of the magic of poker, It's the idea that anyone can beat anyone on any given day, right? Anyone can sit down with the greatest in the world, and if they have their shit together, at least for a bit, they have a good chance, right? And that's, I challenge a lot of people, not to get super metaphysical here about poker, but it's kind of the reason why I love poker so much. I challenge anyone to come up with games on a similar caliber, right? That let David slay Goliath on a regular basis. In fact, it's the moneymaker effect for fuck's sake, right? I mean, it's a foundational reason why poker has become so popular.
Yeah, it's an incredible game, and I mean, as fellow game designers, we can relate that. There's some of the simplest games are some of the most fun games to play, and just to overanalyze and get in the nitty gritty of.
Yeah, for sure, agreed.
All right. So we can talk about poker forever because you and I both worked on Zynga Poker, and so
Wherever you want to go. Happy to answer whatever questions, obviously, whatever.
Well,
whatever.
you, sir, have touched and been part of some games that a lot of people care about.
I got my fingers deep in some. I've been very fortunate to have gotten my fingers deep in some stuff that I really wanted to. Yeah.
So I want to start with one of the things that people will immediately know about, which is Magic the Gathering. So talk to me about your experience in Magic the Gathering, what you did over there.
I started off I'm one of the original rules dudes, and unfortunately they were all dudes, right? But at the time, Wizards of the Coast this is 1994. I've been playing Magic since I'm day one alpha, right? I was the dude who was the main salesman gunslinger at the game store that I'm shaking the camera here. At the game store that I was working at between just after college, right? After college, you're kind of like taking classes remotely, like working in Indianapolis and then driving down to Bloomington for classes. I learned how to the store manager had me learn how to play Magic the Gathering. Loved it the moment I saw it. Like, again, one of those games where it's just like, I want to play this game all the time. The story of how I got the job at Wizards of the Coast is like, I have like a 20-minute video on Twitch that kind of goes into the details. But
I'll link that in the description.
All right. I will provide it. Remind me to provide it I'll find it for you after this. I answered rules questions, right? There was a 1 in 6 chance that you would call Renton, Washington, asking what banding was, and I would be the person who would give you hopefully the right answer. I did that for a while. That transmorphed into a management job for a while, like helping retailers out when Magic really blew up. I came on board at Legends. Here, let's put me in context, right? When I went to the game store to say goodbye to all my friends to make the trip across country to go start working in Seattle on the rules phones, the day Magic came out. I mean, the day Legends came out for Magic, rather. Let me put that in a little more context.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started there, went into management. I did a stint as a continuity rules editor for Magic the Gathering, which is basically me and a few other people are making the flavor text for a number of the sets. And then eventually I get brought over as full-time R&D. Just before that, I had done the first expansion for a game called Vampire: The Eternal Struggle with a couple friends of mine who are also working there. And we did that. That was my first ever design gig that I received royalties for as like a freelance type designer. But that became a full-time gig doing design work. We did a number of expansions. I worked on everything except Magic, and then I worked on Magic. I was a developer for the 3 Urza sets, and then I was a designer, though my name doesn't appear in the credits, but that's a different story. For the middle set, Urza's Legacy, I believe, is the one in the middle there. So yeah, I did that, but I was and then after that, I actually went over and worked in RPGs for a while because by that time they had bought D&D and TSR had been integrated into Wizards of the Coast. And I think I would have been remiss had I not actually spent time working on TSR RPG games for a bit. And that's kind of the breadth of the 5 years that I was there. But yeah, answered rules questions. Then I got to make some cards. Then I went over to RPGs, and then I left. I left after 5 years to go pursue a career in video games.
What are some of the things that really drew you and kind of got you excited about Magic? As far as like, what was the draw for you in those early days? As far as like, what made you fall in love with it?
One of the things that made me fall in love with, obviously, the customizability, right? Like deck versus deck. I had always enjoyed miniature games, but I mean, I grew up lower middle class, right? Like, there's no fucking way I'm going to spend $1,000 on figs. Besides, I couldn't even fucking paint them. I'm a horrible miniatures painter. It's just aggravating too. All the friends I grew up with, like one dude went on to be a professional sculptor for Games Workshop. He runs his own game company now, Crocodile Games. His name's Chris Fitzpatrick. And so Fitz and my friend Carlos, who managed a game store, an incredible painter, all my friends were fucking artists who were incredible at painting miniatures, except for me. So of course they're ass deep into Warhammer. I was just like, fuck. So whenever like BattleTech was sort of my gateway to connect on that front, because I didn't, it's just one figure as opposed to an army, or just, here's a lance of 4 figures. I could do that. I still couldn't fucking paint those figures anyway. But I lost track. I went down too many rabbit holes, Nick. Bring me back.
Oh no, we were talking about we were talking about what made you fall in love with Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. Thank you. So the idea of Warhammer 40K, right, is that customizability. I'm bringing my army in, right? I could do that with a deck of cards. And of course, right, it's cards. So, me telling you earlier, since age 8, cards have been an integral part of my life. Now, here are these cards that you can trade with one another. So they have rarities associated with them. So it's baseball cards, but for nerds, for non-jock nerds. And these cards fight one another, right? Take that, Hank Aaron. Shiva Dragon attacks you, Hank Aaron. Fuck you. I loved it. And also, but a big thing that drew me in that kind of got pushed out was the gambling aspect of it. And it was it was the ante, right? The idea that you would take a card out. I mean, like, nut up or shut up, right? You put out an ante, and it could be an integral card of your deck, or it could just be a piece of land. And eventually people would start making their own custom rules. Okay, no land. And then some people would be like, all right, we're going to each put up an ante. We're going to agree to the terms of the ante beforehand, right? It's just the idea of that was also, it was truly almost like fantasy management, like a truly like a fantasy baseball team, except these baseball players, wield swords and breathe fire. Right. It's sung to me on so many different levels. And again, right. It's not to blow smoke up this man's ass, because he certainly doesn't need it. Well, I mean, it's just the brilliancy of Richard Garfield's design on that game, right? Just touching on so many great things that make, and like you identify with certain cards. There are bad cards in the set, so people can argue over what are good cards. Oh, it's just specials make everything better. I mean, at its core, like Magic is just a series of rules, and all the interesting things happen when a card comes in and breaks the rules, right? It's that dynamic of going back and forth with proper measurement going on in the game. I still am in love with Magic the Gathering, even though I really haven't played. I played Arena here recently, though, Nick, online. I had a good time. Yeah, the Magic Gathering online. They finally got their shit together on the digital front. I've got a pretty good product together in that regard.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm actually, I don't know if I told you about my current gig. I'm working on a lot of CCGs, so I'm getting back into the land of fighting baseball cards. This is about to become an interview of. I want to ask you. Okay, who are you? Oh no, we can talk after. I'm interviewing.
All right. Good. All right. Let's stay on target. I'm focused.
All right. Yeah. So Magic the Gathering, and you mentioned that you quit after 5 years to go chase after video games.
Yeah. It took me a little bit to get going, right? Because it was a great detour. I spent a year and a half. I spent half of a year and a half being a tech writer for an enterprise software company, right? But the reason why I was doing this, right, was at least at the time, I thought I wanted to go the path of writing, right? I thought I was more narratively bent than I think I actually am. I think I'm more of an experiential designer than I am a narrative designer, but we could get into that later, right? Of course, there's another rabbit hole, and I lost my train of thought. What was your question again, Nick? Sorry.
Oh, well, I was setting up the softball of talking about how you got into the video games industry.
Yeah.
I do want to ask, because we're gonna get to the meat and potatoes of the fun stuff that you worked on there. But I actually want to know, like, what are some of the games that you grew up that like really left an impression on you, as far as like the stuff you're really passionate about?
So.
Video games specifically.
Yeah. There's this way that designers talk to one another. They say, "Hey, what are your top 5 games of all time?" I'll tell you what some of them are. Right? Let's put aside poker. And if I can be allowed to say that the stink of my own shit smells pretty good, let's put aside World of Warcraft, right? Let's put aside World of Warcraft as sort of like the games of all time, right? Or like the games that I really identify as iconic. I'm not talking about necessarily the quest shit I did, but we could get to that. Deus Ex, like let's talk games. Let's talk video games, right? Because that's kind of where my trajectory goes. I grew up playing Deus Ex. I grew up playing Star Control 2. Star Control 2 is that first kind of action adventure RPG-ish. I mean, it's just so many incredible things going on in that game. And it's like the first time that I gave a shit about a story that wasn't necessarily a fantasy story. It's a space story, right? It's just so many amazing things about that game that were, I honestly feel like, way ahead of its time. It made me want to make games like that. It made me, at least at the time, right? Like, I want to do more like this because I love this so much. There's that. Of course, Ultima 3, the Ultima series, and we'll say 3, 4, 5, right? Those are the ones that, like one of my summers of junior high was Ultima 3. Playing Ultima 3. Well, not the whole summer, but when I could play on the computer, it was Ultima 3. And it took me basically kind of all summer that was dinking around with it, right? To really get into that, to really complete that. And of course that shaped me, right? So RPGs like the Gold Box series, right? Curse of the Azure Bonds, Curse of the Azure Bonds, Pool of Radiance, those games, right? Anything related to RPGs, creating characters, creating parties, going through stories, doing adventures, those are the games that really shape me. Also, and then you get into the 4Xs too, right? Like Civilization. Oh Jesus, why is the sun coming up? I have to be at work here soon. Right. Games like that. Yeah, games like that. But beyond a shadow of a doubt, RPGs are RPGs of many flavors and varieties.
Which makes your transition of going to Blizzard and working on World of Warcraft a little seamless and playing to your strengths.
Even further seamless, the gig I had before Blizzard was working on an MMORPG as well. Yeah, doing the shit at Artifacts. So yeah, it's weird. Not to get too goofy deep with you. I wonder at times whether stopping working on MMORPGs was a mistake in my career, because it's what I always gravitate back toward, right? It's what I always feel like I have the strongest opinions about, like, especially now that I kind of have a bit in the business of playing them professionally, right? Yeah, I have to wonder, but yeah, there's an MMORPG that's not pay to win. Sign me up.
Can you talk about your experience professionally of creating MMORPGs and what that process has been like for you and your journey?
Herding cats.
Which you can explain in 5 minutes, right?
Sure. Yeah. Define the universe and give 3 examples. I got this.
The answer is 42. Next
42.
question.
Dude. All over it like a cheap suit. It's about building worlds, right? At least for me, right? I guess the way I'm going to approach this is, let me tell you what I think an MMORPG is about. If you believe in the idea that, I know, again, we're bouncing all over the place, right? Not here to talk about religion, but if you live a life that's, you're born and then you die, and that's however many years long, wouldn't it be fucking fantastic if you could live alternate lives during that time as well, right? Mm-hmm. Sort of the idea of exploring spaces, environments, stories that are impossible for you to do today. I mean, to my knowledge, magic doesn't work in this world. To my knowledge, we aren't traveling through the cosmos in spaceships blowing each other up, right? But here's an opportunity through a medium, through gaming, right? To explore worlds, to be a part of a world, right? And the beautiful thing about these worlds is that you can always simply go click and you can disconnect yourself from it and get back to the real world, or get back to something else, or do something else. So when I sit down and I get excited and I think about like in any aspect of what I'm working on for the MMORPG process, I'm thinking about world building, right? But I'm thinking about that in the context of how I'm applying it to what I do. So in World of Warcraft, specifically for the 2 years I was working on it, the primary things that I was focused on were quests and the reputation system and how those integrated with all the other systems in the world. I was a quest designer. Kaplan was our lead, but I was the lead person in regards to the reputation system. And the reputation system in World of Warcraft was designed, at least one of those systems, to be integrated into other systems, specifically quests. So back in the day when that responsibility was given to me, it seemed like it was the best natural fit. And I had a background of, other games too. I would be remiss if I didn't mention EverQuest, Nick. If I have to mention the top 3 games, just length of played time that I've put into a game, number 3 is EverQuest, number 2 is EverQuest, and number 1 is EverQuest. So there we go.
Par for the course.
Yeah, that year and a half that I after Wizards of the Coast, I said half the time I worked as a tech writer. The other half of that time I was living off Wizards of the Coast royalties and playing EverQuest. Until I got my next gig.
Chilling with Lord British, as it were. What era of WoW did you join? Because I think everybody has a different era of WoW.
So what era? Yeah,
vanilla.
Vanilla for sure. My first play experience was one of the last Friends and Family alphas, where I got to roll around as a Tauren warrior whose ability to do the runs planning, I guess, had been disabled. It was just after they had kind of taken out the idea of the Tauren not having mounts, them just running like bulls across the land there, right? But I got a taste of that, and then I'm working on it. But I'm day one, right? I'm day one for vanilla, and I'm alliance. I played Horde Alliance, but really I'm alliance through all of that with the mage and the paladin first, and then the mage. But then classic in 2 years ago, right? Until I quit playing here recently, I went Horde, and why didn't anyone tell me? Oh yeah, that's right. They were telling me. I loved playing the Horde. I really, actually, Nick, I still think that gnomes and Tauren need to secede from these yahoos, these alliance and Horde yahoos, and just kind of form the third winning faction with gnomes riding on the shoulders of Tauren, Master Blaster style. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Who runs Crossroads? Baba runs Crossroads. Embargo on. Anyway, yeah. There's that for you.
Yeah, that's incredible. So you mentioned a lot of the systems that you worked on. You mentioned the reputation system, the weather system in Wild Quest. Of those, which of those are you most proud of, and why?
I'm proud of a number of the quests I did. I stand behind the work. All right, here go the caveats, Nick. I stand behind the work that I did, and I'm proud of the reputation system, but I give that at best a C, right? I give the reputation system a C. It's a product of a different era. It's certainly way more grindy than people I think nowadays will. I want to say tolerate, but I don't necessarily think grinding is a horrible thing. But I am definitely a person of a different genre, right? Where by and large, the reputation system that we put into WoW was way easier than a lot of other reputation systems previously. Good luck with the EverQuest reputation system. Have fun with that. Let me know how that works out for you when you go try to get your giant faction up in Velius.
So what's one specific quest that you were super proud of, that you were happy the way it shook out?
Can I give you 2 answers and remind me of this? I'll tell you about a quest that I feel like a series of quests that really put everything into perspective for me. And then a series of quests that I thought I'd kind of fucked up, but later come back. I learned a valuable lesson in Classic about it being iconic, and on retrospect, my heart was in the right place. And at the end of it, I think it was a good call. But first, let me tell you about Sunstrider Isle. one of the last things I did before I became Blizzard's creative development manager, Nick, was I did the Blood Elf starting experience for Burning Crusade, the 1 to 5, right? The quest, the layout. And this was actually like some of the design work that I'm most proud of. I was able to, we had this idea that we wanted to create flows for visual flow representations for quests. So basically, we bust out Visio, we start putting in, basically layering out the flow, the visual flow of quests, and having a language associated, like locking down terminology that had already been around, right? But showing how breadcrumbs relate to other quests, showing that some quests are like there's a chain that activates one quest, but these other two become available as well that aren't necessarily tied to that quest. Like a lot of the work that went into Sunstrider Isle was me trying to identify, this is what I feel like the ideal starting experience for an MMO player should be, right? And all of that work comes together. Like we had made changes and additions to the early zones early on, but a lot of that work that I did, and others did that too. It's not just me, right? But a lot of the work that I did there was in preparation for this moment of, all right, for Sunstrider Isle, which was the first thing that we did for Burning Crusade, this is what the starting experience should look and feel like. So if you had a good time starting your Blood Elf on Sunstrider Isle and you felt like that was a good way to convey who you were as a Blood Elf and kind of what it's all about, and to give you like a good foundation, because I'm of the opinion it's great to revel in the player's choices, right? To create unique experiences for classes and to create unique experiences for character races, right? I think it's good. And I think a lot of philosophy nowadays drives away from that. I'm about to preach and I'm about to lose my train of thought.
Blood Elf, Sunstrider.
Blood Elf, Sunstrider. Oh, that was the first thing. So that's the thing that I think I'm most, that I like, I upon retroflect, I'm most chuffed about that. Now, let me tell you about the chicken escort quests, where I'm responsible for that whole mess, right? Where it's the chicken in Tenaris, it's the chicken in Feralis, and it's chicken in Hinterlands. So it's this quest you just randomly find an orb, you go locate the chicken, you reactivate the chicken goes on an escort mission, there are ambushes. God forbid that you might need to spend 10 to 15 minutes accomplishing a quest, but one of those quests make you spend 20. But back in the day, that wasn't too much of an ask. I have heard so many iconic stories, especially the people who played on PvP servers. If it's any justification, if it's any sense of justice, I played on a PvP server. I played on PvP servers. I tried to do my own quests. Horde not having it. Not yet. Horde not having any of it. Oh no, little gnome. Take that. But it created stories, right? It created all of these incredible stories. And it's such a great icebreaker for a human being to come up and you can tell that they're filled with love, genuine love, when they say, I really fucking hated those quests. It's like they have this story of like, oh, I'm almost there, and then I get ambushed, and so I call some friends over, because you better goddamn well believe if these fuckers ambush me, no other person on the other side is getting that quest done for the rest of the day. Wars rage on PvP servers, but they're good PvE stories as well. And that quest chain has always been sort of like, I've discovered it as the best icebreaker in the world, where someone might come up to you, and I have a hard time processing this still, Nick, where people just get like verklempt in my presence. And listen, I'm no fuckstar, right? I am no one like that whatsoever. Having said that, I get that I invest just like a lot of these folks invest. And if me making that, the only thing I would do different for those quests, Nick, is I would have made them elite. And all that is just marking them as elite, which is get a friend to help you because you probably will need it, right?
You're probably going to get griefed on a PvP server.
Precisely, right? Or if you haven't done it before, those ambushes don't play, right? If you try to do those quests I specifically made those ambushes be really pushy on what a player could get away with solo. So, I mean, which was the point, right? Like I was giving you a pet. I was giving you a free pet companion that would follow you around. That was a mechanical chicken. It was the only way to get that. And that philosophy, by the way, later fueled the whole Bloodsail Buccaneer, sort of the Easter egg quest. That's me too. The whole idea that you could the only red pirate hat available in the game is by doing that quest. That's my fault too.
Well, you bring up 2 points that I think are actually really interesting about what makes video games special. I think number one, you mentioned unique cosmetic items, because I think personalization in video games is like really underrepresented and like really taken for granted as far as like how important it is to players. And then also,
yeah, I agree.
You touched on emerging gameplay about, yes, the game wants you to do this stuff, but then all this other wacky shit happens. And to me, that's always been kind of the magic of playing multiplayer stuff in general. It's just like, yes, the game wants you to do one thing, but you might have some magic stories from like this one time, I don't know, like in Halo, like I shot a rocket at this dude and he did like the most crazy misty flip off the back that I laughed for like 5 minutes until I realized I was already dead, but it was worth it.
It's storytelling, right? Yeah. It's the idea that, kind of getting back to, I think, what you were asking about, like, you know, in my thoughts on MMOs. Listen, when I made those quests, it's not my job to entertain you. It's my job to provide an avenue by which you might be entertained if you do this quest, right? But it's up to you to make your own stories in worlds like that, right? Like, and it kind of breaks down to the whole idea of what really motivates a player, right? Is it the intrinsic motivation of, I need to get money to get a mount, I need to do this, or the extrinsic motivation of, Bubba told me to go get 9 shrimp so that he can make his shrimp gumbo, right? So I better go out and get those 9 shrimp by whatever means, right? And it's just sort of that balance between extrinsic and intrinsic. I think hopefully this is what this is what I'm going to pontificate on here for a moment. MMORPGs nowadays lean too heavily on extrinsic motivation, in the idea that if you have to do intrinsic motivation, it's a punishment to you, right? And if I may back up, I'll take a look at retail World of Warcraft here just for a moment and give you this example. It is my feeling that modern World of Warcraft is more about the experiences, the idea of, you want to do Mythic Plus, you want to do the rating, and the path to get there is the sludge. It's the slog, not the sludge. It's the slog through the sludge. It's the drudgery of having to level up. And I don't know. Not on my watch. It's about the destination and the journey, right? And I think a lot of MMOs lean too heavily on the idea that you need to be on this story rail, right? Some games execute great on it, like Final Fantasy 14 and their MSQ, right? But that game is not just that MSQ. Admittedly, I'm playing that game mostly for the MSQ, but I've been surprised and I've been excited about what I've discovered about that game while playing it. When I played the bits I did of Shadowlands, I struggled with that story. I think maybe part of it is that I just didn't identify necessarily with what was going on, except for some cool moments with Jaina and Thrall. But the overwhelming majority of the experience that I had when I was doing that WoW retail experience was, you know, here you go, here, do this and do this. I felt punished anytime I tried to do side questing. I just, there's a myriad of reasons why, but listen, I just felt like the moment I wanted to do something that the developers did not want me to do, I received ample punishment for it. And Final Fantasy 14 doesn't do that to me, right? It doesn't, at least doesn't do it in that same respect. So, I'm all about, I mean, like, listen, you need to create, I'm not saying, hey, no quests, it's all free form, everybody do whatever you want. You're building a world, right? And so there are extrinsic motivators that you can use to tell stories, to give items, to accomplish game goals as well. But at the end of the day, if you've removed the player's want and desire to do their own thing, their own agenda, and have it not feel like it's requirement, it's work, I think you're leaving a lot on the table in MMOs. I think that's a danger sign.
Yeah, I agree. I think another common trap is, especially with modern MMOs, is like too much focus on the end game because they assume that's where all the hardcore, where all the hardcore players are going to go. To where it's like, got to make sure the raid is the best thing ever, the most intricate thing ever. But getting, as you pointed out, as you pointed out, getting to the end game in the raid can be a slog, and if that sucks, then like, what's the point? So.
And the easy solution for folks like that is to, okay, we're going to give you a 30% extra XP. No, maybe you reinvest some of that energy into telling good stories. Like I don't find it to be that shocking that, in my opinion, I think a lot of MMOs, including one I may have worked on, are starting to take their marching orders from Final Fantasy 14 about what to do. And frankly, if you don't build, like, let's remember Final Fantasy 14 reset their shit, right? They're like a realm reborn, right? Like, they went through some serious growing pains, and they have a system. They have game systems that are built specifically for the type of storytelling and for the type of gameplay that they're currently executing on. The overwhelming feeling I get when I play a lot of modern MMOs, especially ones that are a little longer in the tooth now, they have systems that were designed years ago and they're being used for different purposes. And not to beat a dead horse here, but World of Warcraft, why haven't they changed the quest system in 15 years? Why haven't they made that to be more narratively focused? Because those quests aren't narratively focused. They get narratively focused when we start adding a bunch of extra events to, ooh, look at me, tell stories. And don't get me fucking started on phasing, Nick. Do not get me started on phasing. Do not. Phasing. Okay, there's the
no phasing. No phasing.
Right. Again, right? Like, I'll bring it back. I'll try to bring it back for you, right? MMORPGs are about pleasing a lot of different masters. And that's what makes MMORPGs so hard. Because if you're making a world, you need to have more than just 4 or 5 core groups of people, no matter how big you think those core groups are, who are invested and interested in your game. You just can't have achievers. You just can't have transmoggers and collectors. You just can't have arena people. You just can't have raiders, right? Like, you can maybe make a business model and create wonderful gaming experiences, create a wonderful game that you call an MMORPG. I just don't think that it lives up to what an MMORPG really is.
And that's all I have to say.
And that's all I have to say about that.
I had to bring the Forrest Gump reference all back around for you.
That's why you're the hardest working man in show business, Nick. I've always felt so.
Hell yeah, brother. So after WoW, you went on to another iconic game after coming from another iconic game, which was, you went to Riot and you worked on League of Legends.
I did.
So I would be remiss, I guess, again, talk to me when you joined Riot and started working on League of Legends. Set the context of like the time that you joined, and then I'll ask you another fun question after that.
I love it. It's funny. My story about League of Legends and Riot Games actually starts before Blizzard Entertainment. It's at the company that I'm working at. Let me give you a little history about me and League of Legends in that regard. I'm working at Artifact Entertainment, working on a game called Horizons: Empire of Astaria. The venture capitalist firm sends out their 2 kids to hang with us, right? Because they're gamer geeks like us. They're clearly the sons of venture capitalists, but it's pretty cool when they start talking MMORPG talk. It's like, oh, you're not actually a douchebag. Well, give that time, but there was a connection that happened there, right? And the names of the kids that came out to hang out to like learn about MMORPG, like learn about Horizons, Brandon Beck and Mark Merrill, and maybe folks know who those names are. So I knew those guys. The producer that worked with me, my producer, when I was one of 2 lead designers on Horizons when it shipped, the lead producer on that project, Steve Snow. There's the connections that I already have with major players going on at Riot. Fast forward to Blizzard, League of Legends is no idea what a League of Legends is. I'm working on World of Warcraft. I'm working with Tom Cadwell. Tom Cadwell is later becomes the vice president of game design at Riot. And he's also a big reason why I eventually go over there too. But we're working as like he's on a strike team to basically tighten up the graphics on level 3, if you will, of all the quests that we're working on.
Wait.
All right,
I gotta interrupt you. I gotta interrupt you just for this one, and you know exactly why I'm interrupting you.
It's not even the proper
without telling the internet what your license plate is. Can you explain what your license plate is a reference to?
Sure. So there is this commercial, one of the earliest commercials out there about video games, like working on video games, and it's like, I don't know if it's Westwood Studios or something like that, but it's like this. It feels like a fly by night video game college, and it's these two guys playing a video game on a shitty TV. This is like the 80s. This is like at best early 90s. At best early 90s, low quality production, and these two guys playing video games, and they're like, oh, this is the best ever. I can't. And like this lady walks in and goes, hey guys, are you done testing that game? Because I got another game that needs testing. And as they're playing this game, they turn around and say, yeah, we just need to the graphics on level 3 need to be tightened up, but we're almost done with it. I mean, how do you tighten up graphics by playing the game? But neither here nor there, right? And she's like, oh, great. And she leaves, and these two guys turn to each other and say, man, I can't believe I got a job playing video games. And then it cuts to, and you can have this job too. There it is. Like, play it. Can you play it? Play this.
All right. So I might have to cut this if YouTube kicks me off for playing.
All right. No worries. All right. This will be the pause here.
Oh, hurry up, man. Boss is coming in. Dude, almost got it.
Hey guys, finished testing that game yet? I've got another one I need designed.
We just finished level 3 and need to tighten up the graphics a little bit.
Great.
Hey, I can't believe we got jobs doing this.
I know. And my mom said I would never get anywhere with these games.
Call Westwood College online.
I talked through that because I couldn't hear.
800-914-8582.
Westwood College. It's not Westwood Game Studio, but it was Westwood College Online.
Yeah, I could hear it. I think my audio will come through, but
okay,
yeah.
Good. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hopefully I didn't talk too much over it then.
No, you're good. I just wanted to take that commercial break literally for that, because that's one of my favorite game design inside jokes, and I appreciate that you appreciate it as much as I do. Just like pork chop sandwiches that will never leave my nerdy lexicon.
It smells delicious.
My God, did that smell good? Detective. All right, I'm done.
Sorry.
Oh man. So to go off on another personal tangent. So
that commercial made a very strong impression with me for obvious reasons. Come visit me in Vegas if you want to find out.
All right. Back to Riot. Back to League of Legends.
All right.
Back to the people that were kind of setting up your journey to joining Riot.
Yeah. New Mark Merrill, new Brandon Beck, new Tom Cadwell, new Steve Snow. I am Blizzard's creative development manager. I've been doing it for a while. They invite me out. They're like, hey, take a look at this game. Tell me what you think. I play it. I play League of Legends, their version of League of Legends, for the first time. It's hard to describe playing that game for the first time.
That was like the most dramatic pause ever.
Yeah, sorry. Kind of intended. Well, a little bit intended because it was super. I had never played a game like that before, and it really actually felt like I'm not good at sports, but I have an appreciation for the ritual and majesty of certain sports. English football and basketball specifically are. I really appreciate. I appreciate the athleticism, and I appreciate a bit of the drama, a bit of the rivalries, there's just so many good things about it. And I could see with this game where that could go, where it could go, especially with sort of a foundational 5v5, right? And part of that too, though, but this is a game that I have no immediate affinity to, not like an MMORPG, right? Part of it is, as I would later come to say, and maybe this is bullshit, maybe it's not, I really think League of Legends and MOBAs are the first generation of games that kind of left me behind, right? Where there were some fundamental issues about those games that I never really could resolve, right? And the biggest one, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is one person can ruin the fun for 9 people, just like that. And it's so easy to do. And I'm not sure, and it breeds toxicity, right? And this game, and that game is a huge toxic, but none of that exists at the time when you sit down and play it for the first time, right? And you're just like, oh, and then the sweet talking starts, right? And then and I'm not talking about like game sweet talk. I'm talking about come work for us sweet talking, right? And the way I describe it is this, without getting into a lot of details, but it's not that I'm necessarily avoiding talking about these details, but with any job, there's an amount of bullshit associated with it. Even the best jobs have some degree of bullshit associated with it. The best jobs that you have can go south just because new people come into an organization, priorities change, whatever reason. Things were getting bad for not only me, but a number of people at that company, but specifically because, at the end of the day, the world becomes focused about, number one, right? They had hired a boss above me that was really, really a shitty human being. And the person who had brought that in, I felt was a shitty human being, wrecking Metzen's department. So there are these two, and they're both above you. How do you manage that, Nick? How do you manage that? And at the time, there's a whole host of other shit going on too. My marriage is in shit shape because guess what I did, right? Like even, and a piece of advice for some of you out there, and this is totally unsolicited and maybe it makes it, I don't know. If you want to be successful in this business, there's a pretty goddamn good chance that you're just going to have to move to where the work is and forget about having a family for a while, unless you want it dysfunctional, right? Unless you have the wherewithal and energy to laser focus and give personal relationships that attention, especially when crunch culture is so dominant, right? And how do you say no to crunch culture? How do you say, no, I would like to spend a little time with my wife tonight, my newlywed wife, if that's all right? But I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, Nick. Let me back that ass up.
No, but I think that's an important subject to talk about. And honestly, like I've worked in AAA and I've gained credits, but the majority of my life past 2010, and I really haven't crunched really since like 2010 anyway. And which is why I joined mobile games, is because mobile hasn't crunched me as hard as regular AAA has. And
that was the way at Zynga. They didn't crunch us hard, if at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so like, even though most people, there's not as many accolades, or like people don't necessarily respect game design for mobile games. Like I can
let you have a life. Yeah.
And that means a lot more to me than seeing the fact that like my name is in the credits of something that everybody and their sister has played. So
as I get older, as I get older, I don't regret any of the decisions that I made in my career. I don't. And I have personal stories associated with all of them and personal ideologies, right? But if you want to know what one angle of success in video games looks like, and if I may be permitted to say I had a degree of success, I don't have any kids. And it's not that I necessarily didn't want to have kids, but my God, I don't know if I would have made it in video games if I had had a kid, right? At least from that time, because I'm personally so passionate and committed to what I want to achieve in the video game business, right? That I'm willing to, I'm not going to bring another life into the equation, right? And there are other reasons that I can get into as well, right? But it really is. Some people say don't pursue your passions. I say you do, but you need to go into it with your eyes open, right? You need to understand what you're giving up. And if you think for a moment that a number of these companies that say that they create a family environment, let us remember specifically they're businesses, right? And at the end of the day, businesses need to expand and contract. And those words are very, very plain to hide the idea that part of those contractions and expansion, part of those contractions are people getting let go from a family. So, pardon me, I don't know if I'd subscribe to that theory as much as I used to. My point being, the older I get, the more I was looking for more work-life balance situations.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think me working remotely, so my job is in Austin and I live in Seattle. And I'm very thankful for that. It's not to say I don't want to move to Austin. Maybe I don't want to move to Austin right now in 2021.
Yeah,
Maybe
I feel you. Yeah,
it's not necessarily Austin. It's just
you'd be in the island. But even back in the day, I lived in Houston. By the way, when I moved, I went to Houston. Yeah, and even then, Austin was kind of an island in a sea of poo. So I'll call it poo. It's not shit. It's just poo.
I mean, I like Texas. It's just like the politics and just the wackiness over there.
Again, let's remove religion. Let's remove politics. Once we take that squeegee and oh man, I love humanity.
Back to games.
Back to games. Yeah, back to games. Why am I working on games?
No, it's all good. I had to go to I mean, it's it's related because like we're talking inside baseball at this point about like the stuff that you have to deal with as part of the industry.
To put a fine point on the question, my Blizzard bullshit finally exceeded my resistance to better and better offers from Riot Games. Right? I guess this is Riot and this is Blizzard. When it got to here, it was like, that's it. Let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. I did ask to make a move back to the World of Warcraft team. And that is where I had to, my first lesson in dealing with people that I consider to be sociopathic. So there you go. Told specifically, I backed the wrong horse, by the way. When I left the World of Warcraft team, I had backed the wrong horse, but that's neither here nor there, Nick. Everyone, listen, I'm nobody special. Everyone's got stories. Everyone's worked with shitty people. For every shitty person that I've ever worked with in the video game business, let me tell you the stories about 10 of the best people you would ever hope to fucking meet and work alongside.
Yeah. And the other side of the coin.
Speaking of which, you compliment me. I can compliment you too. Let's see if
not allowed. Not allowed, sir. I throw your compliments to the pigs. Pearls among swine. No, thank you.
Fair, fine. I'll figure another way.
I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
I lost my train of thought because
I'm always trying to make this a conversation, not a.
No. It's okay. It's okay. We could. I mean, we're talking about the stuff that most people don't know about anyway. So
yeah. It's there's always inside shit. There are always inside stories. But that's how I got to kind of get us back on. That's how I mean, eventually it was just like, all right, I'll be your lead creative designer for this League of Legends game. And if you think I'm an idiot, I guess that's the time that the broken clock was right that day. For hopping on that train. Like I make no secret about this. It is the worst 2 years of my career as far as like personal interactions with other human beings. Very few bright moments in my time at Riot Games. The brightest of those all, I guess, were well after the fact, right? Because part of that deal, and I don't mean, and I say this to everyone out there, the way you get successful in the video game business is roll a 100 on 2d10s, by the way. Right? Roll 100 on that. Get lucky. But part of luck is you kind of need to be present to win, right? Like you need to find yourself in a position. Like I view me getting the job at Wizards of the Coast as one of the greatest opportunities of luck in my life, because I met people there that cascaded throughout my entire life. If I hadn't gotten the gig at Wizards of the Coast, I would not have gotten the gig at Artifact Entertainment. If I had not gotten the gig at Artifact Entertainment, would not have gotten the gig at Blizzard or Riot, right? All the way back to that beginning, those relationships that you develop, right? And even though a number of people that I don't consider to be good people have found a great deal of success in the business, you'd be surprised how much comeuppance some of those folks do get, right? I mean, it's interesting, and not trying to distract from my time at Riot Games, but it's interesting when you read nowadays about how the video game business is sort of coming under a brighter spotlight about the actions and activities going on.
You brought it up, so let's talk about it. So I would be remiss if we didn't bring up the subject of the given news as of late, both Riot and Blizzard. Go ahead.
I'm going to need another beverage. I'm going to need a water beverage for this one. A soda water beverage. I'm ready. I got it right here. I have a chiller. I have a drink chiller right here next to me.
Top shelf.
Keeps them nice and frosty for me the way I like it. Yeah, let's talk about this, Nick. I do. I don't want to be angry about this.
Well,
angry about this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, let's talk about it. So
Yeah.
both Riot and Blizzard, two of your former employers, have had a sexism reckoning in their workplaces over the past couple of years. So I guess, what is your take on sexism within the video games industry in general?
It's real. It's real. It's real. But I want to make I want to make a statement not about sexism, right? And the statement hopefully doesn't diminish. It's not my intent to diminish this gravity and seriousness of what's going on right now. But I want to posit something to you. If shitty people in the video game business are allowed to harass people sexually in the workplace, do you think that there's other bullshit that they do in the workplace too? Or are they just kind of focusing their energy on making a person feel uncomfortable sexually at the workplace, right? Right. No.
Usually
Clearly,
all the above. They're just a piece of shit in general.
Right. You don't have to be sexually harassed to see aberrant behavior at leadership levels, right? And I have to make I saw it at both places. I saw it much more broadly. I saw it almost encouraged, as sports teams can want to be to do at Riot. So when I discovered, like my time at Riot was relatively brief. It was a little over 2 years, is like 2.5 years. If you look at it from professional standing, I played a couple seasons for the Clippers, the Golden State Clippers. When I got LA Clippers on the fucking brain today. Golden State Warriors.
You also called Stephen Curry Stephen Curry.
Did I fucking met Steph?
As a Bay Area native, you triggered me a little bit, but luckily I'm only an A's fan, so you get a pass.
Good. See, what part of the problems about I've always slopped around on words. I've always just been sloppy with my drink, if you will.
I'm dyslexic. I stutter. You get a free pass, and I mumble.
Thank you, Steph Curry.
And somehow I have a podcast. Who the hell let me do this?
I have. I look at my time at Riot as playing for 2 years for a championship NBA team, right? And we got a couple rings, and I saw some action. I saw a lot of action, and I definitely can look back on one of the things I got on my shelf back over here. You can even see it like right there a little bit, is the 2010 award that I got a personal version of, right? For Game of the Year, Online Game of the Year, 2010. That was League of Legends, right? I guess I wasn't super surprised. Like, shitty people do shitty things. I had never seen it amped up to that degree, though, right? But I can definitely see that trajectory. I have to admit, though, I kind of got blindsided about the degree of it. Apparently, that was revealed at Blizzard. It's I have to sneeze. Sorry, it's bad timing here. Hang on,
You're good.
All right. I think I'm okay.
Okay.
I think I'm okay. I'll let you know if it gets worse. I liken video game development to working on a theater production with a bunch of people, right? So you're in a pressure cooker situation, a lot of creativity, a lot of passions flying around. It's up to the director in a theater production like that to set the tempo and set the pace. It's also up to the director to bring the cast as a whole unit together. In the great places that I worked at in video game development, I would see people who would do that. Yeah, there's shitty people who create cultures, right? And here's the thing about that too. They may, some of these people may be really, really fucking good at game development. Some of these people that I have personal issues with are some of the smartest people I've ever met. And they're good. And they have good moments of design. I think you have to be, I personally think you have to have good interpersonal communication skills to be called a good designer. Maybe they have good design ideology. I don't know. But those people hire other people too, right? And one of the things that as a hiring manager, I learned very early on and was kind of ingrained in me by some people who were helping me out, teaching me about what it means to be a hiring manager. If you're not careful, if you're a 10, you will hire 8s. If you're an 8, you'll hire 6s. And that goes on until 4s are hiring 2s. I can't help but think that shitty people are tend to going to hire other shitty people. I've seen it in action, right? You think to yourself, why the fuck would that? Oh, look who's super chummy with that person, right? Or whatever the case may be. It's all, all these interpersonal relationships. Much like a theater, I think you just have to kind of have to root those things out. And when it's not, people are angry at Blizzard Entertainment. It's not companies, it's people. But these people create cultures that when other people slide into and they see, oh, well, this person behaves this way and this leader behaves this way and this leader, fuck it. I'm a leader now too. Yeah, let's go let's give people awkward back rubs and let's have, I never saw any booze crawls around desks or anything, but did that I skipped a booze cruise at Riot Games to go. This is probably actually the big reason why I got canned at Riot was I think they found out that I had skipped a booze cruise at Riot to go interview for a senior director on the World of Darkness MMORPG for CCP. I was like, yeah, at least kind of not feeling. We're not feeling so good. So we're not gonna. I think we're just gonna skip it. And we'd already booked flight to Georgia to go talk with those guys. And I think they found out. But that's not it's certainly not the only reason. It's AAA game development. I don't have to tell you this, Nick. AAA game development can be super, super high pressure. I am the type of human, I would go to the gates of hell for a human being that I believed in, right? That created a good culture, that created a good foundation. That to me is inspiring about video games, right? But that's also inspiring about this isn't just exclusive to video game development. I think this is even non-creative industries, but certainly with creative industries, right? I look to the Richard Garfields and Chris Metzens, and as sort of a reference to us. I don't like my personal recollection of folks like Low Tony and Jesse Janisov. Great aces, wonderful people that went to bat for me personally when they didn't have any skin in the game to do so, right? In an environment where you often sometimes would feel like you would need to have people have your back like that, right? Anyway, when I as a leader am thinking more about the politics of the environment I'm in than the game I'm in, I think that spells trouble. And I would posit that a lot of the difficulties you see out there are related to people living in cringeworthy environments. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I would have to say, thinking back on some oops, I yeeted myself off the planet. Thinking about times where I've been in really toxic environments, it's funny that you say that. I think you really hit the nail on the head there of you're thinking more about the politics than you are thinking about the game, which defeats the purpose of sometimes you walk into a games industry job and you're like, we're making a game. Aren't we supposed to have fucking fun around here?
Yeah. When the job is the game, that's what good creativity is getting made when you're looking over your shoulder or you're the person leading and you're making people looking over shoulders. Right. Listen, shit may roll downhill, but accountability starts at the top. Accountability really starts at the top.
So Bobby, it's time to time to take a walk.
Yeah, I actually had a story of me. I actually had a personal interaction with him. He no idea who I was and probably didn't even see me, but I had seen Bobby once when I was passing through there. I don't want to I'm not here to make a personal comment about him other than actually maybe who am I kidding? This seriously, how much money is it going to take because oftentimes, and maybe this is me secretly telling kids, don't be cynical. Don't let the game industry get jaded. But I look at a situation like this, Nick, is in order to get rid of him, they're going to have to pay him an obscene amount of money. And the question is, what is that real amount? Is it 400 million, over 400 million if they let him go without just cause? Without just cause. And who defines what just cause is, Nick? Is it 200 million? Is it 150 million? What's going on now is probably the negotiation of that number, right? I found out something interesting, and I am purely projecting. This is total guessery total fuckery on my part. Mike Morhaime is estimated worth about $2 billion. Bobby, as I understand it, Bobby Kotick is only worth about $600 billion. I'm morally certain he wants to get $1 billion before it's all said and done. Right. I have a feeling people work like that. Right. Like apparently that's his number. Right. Okay, fine, whatever. And so maybe he'll hang on for that. But, it was just all the things. Can we talk the most recent thing, right? Where it's like, if I can't fix this quickly, I'll go. Listen, this is it. He's springing into action. He's known for years. This is his time to move. This is it. It's all going to get fixed, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, now that the Wall Street Journal has exposed this, it's all going to get fixed.
All the positive shit. Sorry to interrupt you. All the positive, but I'm doing it anyway. All the positive shit that Activision Blizzard has done has been in direct response to Wall Street Journal people, reporters asking them bad questions. He even wrote that first fucking message that Fran Townsend, fucking shitbag. I have a viewer. I have a member of my stream chat that made a video about Bobby Kotick was in Moneyball. You know that, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he did a video. His name is Pastor Dave. And he has his stream on Twitch is Pastor Dave Plays. He made this video where basically he does videos of me commenting on shit and he adds a little funny shit to it. It's fucking great. But he did this one video of basically taking the whole not Season of Mastery, but boosts, right? And put it in the Bobby Kotick scene and Moneyball, kind of memeing it up like that. I'll have to share it with you. It's brilliant. And that kind of hits the nail on the head about what I think about that particular human being. Like, I've already made it a point. I'm not thumping my chest here. Listen, I want to play World of Warcraft. I'm not kidding anyone about this, right? I want to play World of Warcraft, but as long as he's CEO of that company, I will not ever give Activision Blizzard a dime. Nothing. They get nothing as long as this is going on. No, and it's blindsiding too. The Activision Blizzard stuff is way more blindsiding than the Riot stuff.
And it's a bummer too, because they're shitting good people, I'm sure, like left and right. Just on watching LinkedIn alone, I'm seeing people leave Blizzard all the time. So it's kind of depressing. They
talk about the last 5 years at Blizzard. I would posit, how about you talk about the last 20 years at Blizzard? Like, because some leaders that have gone created the foundation, created the shitty foundation that's going on there now, right? Like that game is 15 years. Of course, that game is going to change its vision, especially with, I don't want to call it a turnstile, but people have come and gone off that team at a significant enough clip, it's the same way with the culture. But once that culture rot gets baked in there, how do you shake it out? Exposing it to light and disinfectant, I guess.
Some good strong bleach and some good therapy.
Don't inject it, despite what some presidents may advise you to do. Don't inject that bleach. But we're good. Just put it.
Let's
sorry,
not
no politics. No politics.
Yeah, let's not bring up 45 around here, right? Thanks. I'm trying to have therapy and get past that. Thanks.
Sorry.
And on that note, let's end it on a happy note. I just want to ask you one last softball question.
Thank you.
Since we got into some dark topics and we need to back it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You're back in the land of sunny, whimsical questions, which is, we're both game designers. Who are some of the game designers that inspired you? You've already kind of hit on this a little bit.
Yeah, Richard Garfield for sure. Garfield for sure. Hey, can I goob on you for a second?
Yes.
I worked at Kicksai for a while. We were working on Tome there. I call that place Fort Fuckery. I served my time at Fort Fuckery. I did a few years at Fort Fuckery. But one of the super big highlights of me working at Kicksai was they had actually brought on Lewis Castle, as the guy that one of the opportunities that I got to hire my own boss turned out to be gangbusters. That was at Kicksai. We brought on, and I always butcher his name, but Rade Stosavovich. he's like one of the originals on Command and Conquer, right? He was the EP on the project where I was the creative director for Tome, and then we did and that's a different story. The point being, great human being, very much inspired a bit by game design, but a bit about how business and creativity can work together. Because by that point in my career, I'm considering myself a creative director, right? I have kind of moved on from I still do design, right? But I'm more and more aiming toward the Chris Metzen side of the business, right? I got to work alongside Lou Castle, and not to be hyper dramatic, but it restored my faith in meeting someone who's clearly better than you at game design, just effortlessly. But how he effortlessly brings out the best in you as well when you're working with him. And I had the pleasure of, for at least a couple months, like once or twice a week, we'd pull into a room and it's just him and I, and we're bouncing ideas back and forth about Tome, and then after that is I can't even Rogue Assault, like blah 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 Rogue Assault. I can't remember the name of it. It's one of their two, like pirate. I know, whatever. It didn't ship, but regardless, I was working alongside Lou Castle, right? And a designer who had I played Command and Conquer. I love the shit. I'm like, I want to play more games like this. It certainly got me acclimated and ready to play games like StarCraft, right? And shit like that, which I played the fuck out of. But Lou Castle's another one. And I mentioned from a business perspective, right? I'm very pro Chris Metzen. I've told you that, not necessarily design necessarily, but again, right? Like anything related to creative direction, I consider him a mentor. But and I want to give you a name of someone that you maybe had never heard of. One of the best designers that I had ever worked with, and I'll kind of keep it in the context of what we've been talking about. When I worked on World of Warcraft, his name was Scott Mercer, and he did a lot of encounter design. And I think he's actually one of the people that still work at Blizzard. There are a few people that work at Blizzard that have been there forever. I love, and it hurts me saying shit like I'm not going to give AB any money, because I think they'll be okay, but it hurts, right? I mean, I know those folks are there. Having said that, though, Scott Mercer is, I have to say, any unsung great thing that you might find in an encounter during my time, like, certainly the era of Burning Crusade. And I got to really work along, like I shared an office with him for a while when I was working on that, especially when we were doing Dire Maul. A great designer is a human being that can easily shift from I'm doing a thing, I'm managing a thing, I'm mentoring, I'm managing. They can bounce around because they don't have to be extroverted. They just have to be able to communicate, and they have to be able to listen. I learned a lot about being patient and being a better designer by working alongside that human being. And he's still there, right? And kudos to him. Talk about stability. Talk about finding a place to. Blizzard, at least back in the day, used to be the retirement shop. Like, that was stability. Games are not stable. That place, at least back in the day, was. So there you go. A few names for you. Rade Stasavovich, of course, Chris Metzen. Lou Castle, for sure. And
Mercer.
Thank you, Scott Mercer. I can't believe I just forgot his name. All right, there you go.
It's okay. I'm listening. That's what
Don't
I'm
get
here
old.
for.
Don't get old.
It's a trap, kids.
It's a trap.
Did I tell you that I work with Lou as well at Zynga?
No, that's awesome.
So
tell no, you just can't say that. Yeah, tell me the story about how you worked with Lou Castle.
All right. So I had a Chris Farley interviewing Paul McCartney on SNL moment, which is, hey, remember when you worked on Command and Conquer? That was awesome.
That's great.
Because I was just like, he's like, oh yeah, I used to be at Westwood. I was like, Westwood was, oh my God. Because like I was a kid who played Red Alert. I played Red Alert like as if it was air. Like similar to like EverQuest, Ultima 3. similar to
Yeah,
you with
yeah, yeah.
Ultima 3 of what was I doing all summer? Ultima 3, like Command and Conquer
Alert?
Red Alert
Yeah.
was just like crack to me.
I have a which one was the actress Kari Wurr? Do you remember her? Kari Wurr. She had the red
think
hair.
so.
She had red hair.
Yeah.
Maybe she was the character Tanya, I want to say. I don't know. Anyway, I definitely remember the actress Kari Wurr from that. One of my moments of creative director claim to fame, I hired Kari Wurr for Tome. She's one of the voices of one of the champions in Tome. And it
That's
was
awesome.
great. It was great. It was great. It actually was a secret awesome moment for me because I consider myself still an actor, even though I haven't really acted for years. And just to work, I mean, just to see how professional she was and how fucking cool she was to hang out with. Like, she thought it was like, my team had given me like, listen, we need to dazzle the fuck out of some people with this game, I would say sometimes. So they gave me, I needed a wireless mouse. So they gave me a dainty pink mouse, bejeweled to all hell and back. And I proudly took that everywhere I went. It's like, my team got me this mouse. God damn it. I'm going to use it. And so Kari we're in the studio and I'm sitting there going over some stuff with a few people, right? I feel like I'm big man on campus here. I'm running the show. I'm doing the sound stuff. And, I'm talking with Kari. I'm saying, listen, Kari, because she insists that I call her Kari. I'm a big, obviously a big fan. Looking forward to working with you today. The conversation, and she eventually looks over here and sees this mouse. And this is early on. She's like, why do you have that mouse? So I told him the story about we're going to dazzle the fuck out of people on this game and how that kind of inspired them to get me this mouse. She loved it. We were fast friends afterwards. I got a peck on the cheek, and I can now say that I had one of my fanboy crushes give me a peck on the cheek. So I feel I was all fluttered. I was Chris Farley from Chippendales in that moment.
You became a real boy that day.
The ogre dance was in full effect.
Yeah, Lou was really cool. It was also a really smart idea because at Mafia Wars we had a whiskey club, and similar to Fight Club, you have to bring whiskey the first time you join Whiskey Club, and so we invited Lou to Whiskey Club, and he brought a real expensive bottle that none of us could afford. So like, Lou's great.
What did he bring? Do you remember what he brought?
It wasn't Pappy, but it was pretty close to Pappy in terms of price. I don't remember what it was.
Oh, so you're looking at Buffalo Trace. I mean, was it bourbon? Was it bourbon that he brought, or did he bring like Scottish?
I think it was a single malt. I can't remember what it was. This is before I actually was snobby about whiskey.
I feel you.
But yeah, we're just like,
one of the things, retirement was good, right? Because starting at Zynga, man, the video game business got boozy. It's weird, right? Like you talk, Riot and Blizzard, right? They had some boozy moments, but at least my time, I wouldn't consider them boozy. Zynga, you listen, look at you, nod. They had the bar downstairs. They had the bar downstairs for 5
I had a bottle of bourbon on my desk, and I'm sober now. So connect the dots as much as you want.
Yeah, like retire. It's funny. I enjoy a lovely beverage from time to time on stream, and I think honestly that's probably the only time that I'm like tossing back a couple. Anyway, except if like you come to Vegas and we go out for a steak dinner, at least one Manhattan will be consumed. At least one.
At least one. Well, sir, you never disappoint, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you as always.
Thank you. I the tickled shitless that you asked me to do this, dude. I hope one day I'm going to get my shit together and get some podcast shit going and invite all my game designer friends on there to talk shit like we've just talked tonight, dude. But you're doing it. You're doing it, dude. You're doing it. Thank you.
You got it, dude.
You got it, man.
Before we get out of here, is there anything that you'd like to plug before we leave? Perhaps a certain Twitch channel, social media sites, cool things happening in your life?
I've been known to stream on Twitch from time to time. This is what I'm doing in my retirement. Baba's Share Show. B-A-B, but it's really Baba Share Show. I couldn't have my username be Baba's Share Show because you could look at it as Babass. And I'm pretty sure that I didn't want to just deal with that. So it's Baba Share Show. I'm trying to stream as much as possible, but I really stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Variety of games. Maybe one day we'll get back to playing World of Warcraft, but listen, there are too many fucking games out there, dude. Lots of games. About 6 p.m. PST is when I usually get on, but I might do it early. I try to keep to a semi-regular schedule, but I mean, I am retired and I am leaning into that.
As you should. You deserve your flowers, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Shawn, thank you so much for your time.
My
Everybody
pleasure,
else, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.